The Mastering Local Marketing podcast helps local small business owners like you understand what it takes to successfully market your business and drive new customers through your doors. We provide actionable insights, interview leading experts and business owners in various industries, as well as provide tips and tricks we've uncovered over the last 25 years in the field. Whether you're starting your business or you've been at it for decades, let us provide you with the education and resources you need to grow your customer base. It's time to start mastering your local marketing. Here's your host, Matt Hansen.
Hey, this is Matt Hansen with the Mastering Local Marketing podcast, and I am here with Dr. Scott Cowley. He is an award-winning educator, researcher, strategist, keynote speaker, and author of SEO Strategy and Skills. In addition, he's the director of the digital marketing program at Western Michigan University, and he's coached 2 of the top 3 winners in this year's digital marketing competition. If you wonder where top brands are sourcing their talent, I guarantee you it's coming out of this program. Today, we are actually going to be talking about 3 ways to hire marketing help. And really what we understand, and Scott and I were talking about this beforehand, is that you get to a point where you just realize there's just not enough time to do all of this, right? So you're doing accounting, you're doing hiring, you're even doing janitorial duties, let's face it, right? Scott and I are here to really kind of talk about that today, that there are 3 ways you can do it, and we are well versed in kind of one of these right off the bat. But Scott, let's do a quick intro, just say hi and tell them all the wonderful things you're doing this summer.
Hey, Matt, thanks for having me. I mean, so much of my job, honestly, is just figuring out how to help students get jobs and how to make sure that everything we do is relevant. And I think so much of that comes back to helping students get, career build and skill building opportunities while they're in college. And so much of that is enabled by small businesses. So I love that we're talking about how to get businesses more help and in ways that they may not even realize are great solutions to their needs.
Scott and I have been in the university space for a long time. We're not going to give numbers, or at least I'm not going to give numbers because it's way too long. But there have been multiple conversations. I know, Scott, you probably get this pretty regularly where somebody will come in and say, hey, I'm looking for a student to hire. Tell me about internships. Sure. What are some of the opportunities to get involved with a student to have them help me with whatever it may be, my social media or in-store or whatever it may be? Like, what are some of the questions that you get from your end?
Well, I think that there's small business owners know that they have marketing needs, know that in many cases, they either don't have the time to do it or they don't have the knowledge to do it. And they know that we've got all these digital natives who seemingly would be capable of helping the brand. I think, a lot of times it's just basic questions like, is this even a thing? Would a student be interested in helping with this? Can I get free help? Right? There's, that's always going to come up. Right. And so I think they just want to fill out, what are their options? I mean, I think at a basic level, pay and hours are something that are worth talking about, right? Because a company can't afford a full-time marketing employee. But what they don't realize is, hey, there could absolutely be some great students who would love nothing more than to fit in a solid 2 to 5 hours of work, and a business can absolutely afford that. Yeah,
I think the one elephant in the room that you've already touched on, people will come to me and they'll say, hey, what can students do? But are they free? Right? That's a question that I hear all the time. Can I get free help at the university? And there are programs in a classroom and things like that you can do. What I like to tell them, and I don't know if you're in the same boat, but what I like to tell them is, if they're free programs and we drop them into a class, you have the opportunity to get my greatest student and you have the opportunity to get my most difficult student. And you're going to get everything in between, and there's really no control over what's going to happen. You kind of integrate some of those things into your classroom and into your internships or opportunities with students. Like, what are some of the areas that you try to promote where students can help?
So, I mean, and just to add another point to the free help thing, I mean, everyone wants free help, and that's understandable. But I think that the conversation has really shifted so that free help is not really necessarily an avenue that you're going to even see as an option. I turn down a lot of companies. It's like a free dinner, Yeah. I turn down a lot of companies who want free help. I mean, and I like to bring in client projects into classes, but so many times just the timing isn't right, or I already have it full of other stuff. Our business college here at Western, won't even give like course credit for free internships, right? It has to be a paid internship. So yeah, and there are service learning classes and stuff that you might be able to get involved with. But ultimately, I tell students, look, if you're willing to work for free, and some of them are, then you go choose the company you want to volunteer for instead of the desperate small business wanting free help, right? But to your question, okay, what can a student do? I mean, I think so much depends, like you said, on the student. Like, what could the best student do? Well, the best student can do a lot of things. What can the average student do? The average student is going to be able to do things that have clearly defined tasks, right? If you know what you need and you just don't have time to do it, well, then you can train just about anybody to help with some of that stuff. So if there's some predefined tasks or you're willing to provide some training and some calibration to get things to the level that you want, and you know that students going to be doing and that somewhat repetitively, then yeah, you can find a lot of different options for help. If your need for help is like anything is better than nothing, right? If you're just not doing any marketing, then the student is going to absolutely be able to help you with that. I do know that some students come in with like some serious talent that can be put to use. I mean, I think and you may have some ideas here, but one of the most transformative things that some brands absolutely benefit from is just like better media, right? Better photos, better video, better storytelling that tells the story of our company, tells the story of our happiest clients. That kind of stuff I've seen be a pretty big game changer.
Yeah, we got to realize that these kids, and I call them kids, they've grown up with technology in their hands, and they know how to use that phone, that video. They know how to tell a story. And we've highlighted some 18, 19, 20, 25-year-olds on the podcast in the past that have they're out there on social telling stories. And I think when you're looking from a student perspective, you're probably not hiring them to develop like this massive marketing strategy with all these pieces to it. What you're doing is trying to understand, okay, if I had one task to give them, and let's say it's Instagram or TikTok or any of them, right? Like, I want you to go out there and start telling our story. I want you to document who we are behind the scenes, but put your spin on it, what needs to be shared with the world. If you give them the flexibility and the freedoms to do that, and they have some kind of portfolio, and what I mean by portfolio, just look at what they're doing for themselves online, then that's going to work. But if I were to hand them over, $1 million media spend and say, here are all the traditional methods we want. Can you develop the creative? Can you shoot a commercial? They're going to go, whoa, right? So we did a project a while back where we had a bunch of YouTube videos that we had to go out and shoot. We had a website that we had to build, and a bunch of signage and a trade show booth. And it was funny because you start talking to different students, and some of them had video expertise. Okay, well, we gave them a DSLR, and they went out and started to record, but they didn't have the editing experience. Okay, so now we got to find an editor, and then we've got to find somebody that can design for a trade show booth. And we're a business school, so we don't necessarily have the design side. We have the strategy side and the number crunching and all of those types of things, but those become issues. So you start to kind of like piece things together. So if you have a simple plan, I feel like what we're saying here is if you've got something very focused that you can give them some clear guidance that they'll do a really good job. But if you start to get like this massive amount of things that you want done, it's just, sometimes it's too much for a student.
Oh, 100%, especially where they're not thinking about your business the way you think about your business, right? There's nobody who cares more about the success of your business than you do as the business owner. So you have to recognize that these are students with a lot of competing interests and demands, especially the less time you are paying from among their as a share of total time, then you have to adjust some expectations for sure. I do think though that one area I think that small businesses sometimes get in trouble is that they think they're very channel focused, right? Like, oh, I need someone to do my email marketing. I need someone to do my Instagram channel. And a student can do that, but they're thinking if you put them to a task that's too channel focused, then they may lose sight of the big picture and what's actually going to benefit the business. So I like to encourage businesses to kind of walk it back a little bit and think more in terms of like, hey, what's the marketing objective here, regardless of the channel that you're using, and you're more likely to see students actually experiment and try to figure out what's working for the business instead of just being married just to TikTok or to Instagram, right?
Well, plus, and you get a disconnect too. So if a student is going in one path and just running and the rest of the team is not running with them, then obviously it's a different experience on a different platform. So that can become an issue as well.
I do think that based on what I've seen, if you want a good student, the best way to get a good student on the marketing side is you've got to vet their writing skills. Like there's no substitute for good writing ability. And as a business owner, you do not have the time to be like correcting spelling and grammar. So if there's any sort of like way to narrow a group of applicants down, give them a small writing test. I mean, yeah, they could use AI, but you'll be able to see through that. But yeah, so many small business marketing problems could be solved with better writing, better communication.
There's other options as well, right? So if we were to jump over to the freelancer market, I don't know, I've hired freelancers for a variety of different things. I've been a freelancer for a variety of different things. What would you say to anyone out there? Where would you go? Where would you even think to get started with that?
Freelancer is a good option if you have some budget and you do not want to be doing a lot of hand-holding, right? Like if you want the other person to take the lead, most students will not be prepared to sort of take the lead and ask you the right questions and take you down the road in order to deliver that value. I mean, there are different types of freelancers, but still you're usually looking at a specialized sort of marketing task if you hire a freelancer. If you're a small business and you just find like almost every city is going to have local like small business Facebook groups, and that seems to be the place where people are most likely to ask for freelancer recommendations and find a handful that can be a good starting point. I also think there's like having been a freelancer myself too, I think there's a hidden sweet spot for getting a good freelancer. And if you can find someone who does the type of thing that you want them to do for you, but just working for a single company that doesn't compete with you, sometimes those people are the very best to do that same sort of thing for you, especially if they come from some kind of agency background where they've done this for a variety of different clients and now they're working at just a single company. Those ones are often sort of under the radar gems for getting some quality.
Yeah, there's a variety of different sources out there. You can go to something like a Fiverr or I think there's one called Upwork. There's a variety of different ways that you can kind of find it. You can, find freelancers even at your local universities, put a feeler out there. And many times you'll find that. But I think that the thing that you said earlier is with a student, you kind of handhold a little bit more. With a freelancer, you're hiring them because you're under the assumption that they know what they're doing, that you give them direction and they'll be able to take it and run with it, that you don't necessarily have to jump in periodically to kind of monitor what they're doing and reshape the direction that they're going.
Yeah, there's some expectation of expertise there, which is unfortunately, I feel like there are always going to be people who see freelancing as like the fake it till you make it approach to making money. And they're even like people on TikTok telling people, oh yeah, just, jump into it. And so I know that, the marketing industry, especially digital marketing, is so mature at this point that a lot of people have been burned by multiple freelancers or agencies. So I think that's where, there's a lot more sort of caution around like higher level investments in freelancers and agencies now.
Yeah. I had one that I dealt with years ago, and we were doing something with Google search, and I didn't have time to do it. And I said, okay, let me hire you as a freelancer. And, they put the campaign out there. We had approved certain things, and, 2 weeks had gone by and thousands of dollars are flying out the door. And I'm going, can we get some results? What do we look? we need more time. And I'm like, okay, how much more time are we talking? They're like, well, give us 2 months. And I'm like, whoa. We should be seeing results within, a few hours, if not days, whatever. But like 2 months or 3 months is not, no. So it was funny because this individual freelancer worked with me. We fired them. And then I was working with another agency and they were doing some freelance for them. So they had been brought in with the client, and the client was like, oh, we use this freelancer to do work. And unfortunately I had to fire him a second time. It was one of those Zooms where you get on and you're like, hey, remember me? So, yes, people will be freelancers, but yes, eventually it will catch up with them. But there are a lot of bad ones out there. So I think when you're talking to a freelancer, you have to ask them, how are you measuring things? How are you keeping me up to date on what's happening? Like, I'm not going to wait for 3 months to get an idea of where you're at. That's just not how I work. So I think what we're saying, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but keep on these freelancers. Understand you're hiring them for their expertise, but that expertise, you've got to vet, right? So there's a lot of people out there that say they're consultants and freelancers and all this that may not even have some kind of portfolio, but start to listen to what they're saying. If they're saying yes to everything and I can do that, right? They're just looking for the check, which I hate to say, but vet them. I mean, you still have to stay on top of them.
Yeah, and I think I've seen a couple of situations where small business owners have somehow reached a point where they feel like all of their eggs, the success of their business hinges on the success of this freelancer or the success of this agency. And that's a bad position to be in. If you're having those type of thoughts as a small business owner, you're probably not ready to hire someone like that. Right. If you're counting on them to single-handedly save the business or to make the business profitable, it's probably not. There's something else wrong that needs to be looked at.
Yeah, you don't go buy a lottery ticket in the hopes that you'll be able to pay your mortgage.
Good way.
It's one way to look at it, right?
100%.
Okay, so we've got students that you can hire at local universities. I've even seen students, we've got a couple local universities here that you can hire students on the high school level that do amazing work. I remember asking a 14-year-old if they did freelance work a while back. But so we've got students and then we've got freelancers, but then we also have the agency side. And I know this is one where many people are like, oh, I wish I could hire an agency. And there are a variety of different levels of agencies that are out there. I mean, there are some that will take a $1,000 project, and then there are some that only start at $1 million projects. So what are some of the things that they should look for, a small business should look for when they're looking for an agency that's friendly to small businesses?
Well, I think that the same could be said about freelancers too. It's like when we talk, I mean, we could go into a lot more depth about vetting and how you actually can tell if you're getting a good one. But I think it's worth talking about this for a second. We'd love to hear your thoughts on it. But I mean, a small business owner who is in the market and potentially looking to hire a freelancer or an agency should never be afraid to ask for case studies, to see a portfolio of work. You also have to know that the case study and portfolio is only the best stuff. It's only the successful stuff. I also think it's useful to know that you can sometimes trial a freelancer or take what we call baby steps into hiring an agency. If you hire them specifically for the purpose of a one-off assessment, right? It's kind of like going to the mechanic and saying, hey, give me a 50-point inspection first and just tell me everything that's wrong. You will often get a good sense of, just based on how the agency or the freelancer is talking to you, you'll get a good sense of how do they view the situation? How easy or difficult do they think it's going to be for them to deliver value to you? And you can often get a sense of like, oh, how excited they are by how easy they think it's going to be is a good indication that they're actually going to have some success with it after they've taken some time to look at things holistically, right?
Kind of like that idea, right? So, a lot of the companies that I deal with are larger. I do have some relatively small companies that I work with. And depending upon the size, there are companies that just say, just send me the bill at the end of the month or the end of the quarter or whatever it is, and we'll pay it. And then there are some that will call me weekly and want to go through things. And that's perfectly fine. And I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm simply saying that Every company has their own unique needs. And giving that one small job just to try them out is a really good idea, because you're going to see whether or not you actually work well with them. Do you have the same personality, the same work ethic, those types of things? For my own consulting that I do, I never take a client on until we've already started working. And what I mean by that is I literally sit down and we do a strategic kind of discussion. I may spend 3-4 hours with you before we decide whether or not we're going to work together. And it's a bunch of questions. So what you're saying is, from an agency perspective, are they asking the right questions? Or are they just saying, we're going to sign you up for this package? Or are they asking the questions of what's important to you? Where do you want to seek growth? What are you currently using? What's currently working? What are you currently measuring? I mean, all these different questions that they can be asking. And if you're not getting that, maybe that works for you, maybe it doesn't. I know you and I, we're two peas in a pod when it comes to measurement and making sure things are working and digital and all that other fun stuff. But find something that fits with you. And then, it doesn't need to be the exact same fit, because then you're just doing the same stuff you were doing before. But, I love the idea of just go out there and just give them a small project. Even just do an audit of our business, of our marketing. Just tell us what you find. And I think that's as I run the digital marketing competition and your students participate in it, we see that as one of the biggest values, because the teams, when the students go out there and they do an audit of everything that's out there, many times the client on the back end will go, man, I can't believe we didn't see that. And it's really interesting to watch that side of it. I think that actually has made me a better marketer, because I start to see both sides of it from a student perspective and a university perspective, as well as the client perspective and overall marketing just as a whole. So that's really intriguing. I think that is definitely something that everyone that's listening today should take that and say, if I'm going to hire an agency, let's give them one small project and see where it goes, and don't commit to the huge thing until that one project is there. So I don't know. I love that idea.
Like, where do you see the line between kind of making the jump from freelancer to seriously considering an agency? I think that's a challenging question.
I would say what I've seen from my personal side is, if you're spending, I would say at a minimum, about $50,000 on marketing a year, that's when you start to have the agency. And what I'm saying is a small agency, right? That's when you start to have that conversation. If you're smaller than that, I would look in the freelancer space to do individual things, because freelancers, you can hire them for a couple $100s to do this and that. Some of the stuff that we do here on the podcast, we have a great freelancer that will crop our videos for social content and stuff like that. So great, love that. Saves me the time and effort to do it, so we can focus on generating content instead of just focusing on cutting videos, which I'm not good at.
Yep.
All right. If you could give one piece of advice to someone hiring help for the first time, what would it be?
Oh, so many things. I think so much of it comes back to like understanding unit economics of your own business. Like, what are we selling? How much is it worth to us to get a new lead, to get to get a sale, right? What is the value of all of that? And of that, and given our margins, how much space, how much budget do we have on a per unit basis to work with? I mean, if you figure that out up front, and I'm always surprised at the number of small business owners that don't really have a great handle on some of that. But I mean, in marketing and measurement, so often we talk about customer acquisition costs, right? Like, how much are you willing to spend on advertising or marketing just to get a single customer? And so if you understand your business at that level, then you can really extrapolate and say, like, okay, how much budget do I actually have? And you can then start having conversations about investing into a growth plan that could take the form of hiring someone else to help you out.
Yeah, that's important. I mean, I've had conversations with, sitting down and having those conversations with companies. They want to sell a $3 item through an e-commerce website, and I tell them, don't do it. It just financially doesn't make sense. I've had Fortune 500 companies that think they're making money, and then when you start to do the lifetime value and the customer acquisition costs and all of these types of things, they're really not making money. They're kind of just a push and they're wasting a bunch of energy. So it's really important to understand all of those numbers 100%. I think, if you understand how much money, if you take $1 and you put it out there in the marketing world and you get $1.50 back, you're in good shape. If you get $5, I'm going to start giving you money to give so I can start making $5 in return, right? So I say this to my clients and my students all the time. I'm like, anytime you're giving somebody $1 and they're giving you more back, ramp it up. It's financial literacy, right? Okay. So how can people find you? I know we talked about Western Michigan, but I know you've got a great website and a bunch of other things that you're promoting. So where can people find you?
Yeah, I mean, Scott Cowley on LinkedIn is probably the easiest one. It's Cowley, and I'll share occasional marketing stuff there. I'm always trying to make sure that what we're teaching is relevant to what businesses actually care about. So that's a good place.
And how do they get involved with Western Michigan and your students?
Well, we have a dedicated digital marketing program here, and we've got about 150 students at this point, and every single one of those students is trying to, and I'm pushing them to get hands-on experience outside of class before graduation. So we've got plenty of them, and if you need a remote worker wherever you're located, we've got students who are absolutely comfortable with that. You can just look up my page on Western Michigan University's website and use the form there. Happy to chat.
Okay. I will make sure that those links are in the show notes, and hopefully you find a few people that want to work with you guys.
Hope so. That's great, Matt.
Perfect. All right. Well, that is all for this episode. I want to thank Dr. Cowley for coming on with me today. Scott has been a dear friend of mine for a bunch of years. Honestly, he's got a lot of knowledge and a lot of great students and a lot of things to talk about. So if you ever have a chance, reach out, connect with him, and we will see you guys next time.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, everybody.
The Mastering Local Marketing podcast helps local small business owners like you understand what it takes to successfully market your business and drive new customers through your doors. We provide actionable insights, interview leading experts and business owners in various industries, as well as provide tips and tricks we've uncovered over the last 25 years in the field. Whether you're starting your business or you've been at it for decades, let us provide you with the education and resources you need to grow your customer base. It's time to start mastering your local marketing.